Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you liking, commenting, subscribing. That really helps me out a lot. And I want to talk about forcing the spawn. You look around, the trees are changing. We're getting some warmer weather, warm nights, and that should start moving us into the spawn. But time of day is the most important thing when we're talking about any of the seasonal changes. And right now, as we move into the spawn, we are still early. And I've heard some chatter about this, and I've experienced this for 10 years now, trying to figure out when I need to go to the bank and start fishing purely for spawners. And it just doesn't happen in March. It's pixie dust. I mean, it may look like it because you see some fish on beds and stuff like that, but those bigger fish are wiser. They've done this plenty of years. They know that there could be a looming cold front, and they're just going to stay off. They're just not going to move up. Guntersville, where I fish a lot, is one of those lakes where you want to stay in the mid-range most of the year. Now, we have small periods of time where shallow is really good, and we have small periods of time where deep is really good. But for the most part, that mid-range is what dominates almost the entire year. And that's what I will focus most of my time on, are pre-spawn, post-spawn type places. Because if you get sucked into the shallow spawning deal right now, when you, let's say, have 20% of the fish on the lake are trying to do that, 20% of the catchable fish on the lake are trying to do that, you're going to divide up 20% of the fish with, let's say, 50% of your tournament. You're fishing for too small of a population of fish. You need to be out where there's 60 to 70, maybe even 80% of the fish, and you're dividing that up with 50%. Your numbers are going to go way up. And that's just what you need to look for. Now, they're probably easier to find on the bank, but you're not catching the bigger fish. You're catching those 2-pounders. You may catch 50 fish. I've done this probably 100 times, where you go to the bank and you pick up a Senko and you can catch 30 to 50 a day, but the biggest one's 2 3/4 pounds. Because those big females, they just know that they don't have to spawn, you know, when the trees start changing. They can wait till May. I've even seen fish on Chickamauga spawn in June. So these fish can wait, and they will. They just know that they need everything to be consistent. They need those water lines, those water levels rather, to stay up. They need the right moon. They need a water temperature that can, you know, really be in a pretty wide range. So they don't have to go early, and they won't. And most of the fish on Guntersville, the bigger ones, do spawn out deeper, so they're harder to find out there anyways. You can't just pick up a Wacky Rigger, a Senko, and go down a shallow bank casting and find all the big ones. They're going to be out. You're going to have to really, you know, throw something with some weight on it and fish it out in 5 or 6 feet of water, and then, you know, you're not gonna be able to see them. You have to shake them off. It's a process, and it's a lot tougher to do. So the biggest thing for you guys is to be fishing where the fish are at. And even if you get less bites out there, those pre-spawn, post-spawn spots, they're hard to find. But we're not always necessarily just trying to find where we can get the most bites. We're trying to find where we're gonna catch the biggest fish, and those big ones are gonna be out there. And I've seen this on Santee Cooper. I've seen this on pretty much any lake, Seminole, wherever it may be. Those big fish are not going to just go to the bank. Not all of them. You know, you might have some trickle up there, you know, in the first little warming trend, or when you have a week or 2 weeks of consistent warm weather. But for the most part, those fish are out. They're not going to start moving in until April, and maybe even later than that. So don't force the spawn. I know it's fun. You get to look at them. You get to throw a worm around and catch a bunch of big fish shallow when it's on. But if it's not on, you're going to waste a lot of time up there. You need to still be looking out a little bit deeper. Those fish want to be in pre-spawn. They want to feed up. They want to get themselves ready to spawn. A couple warm nights and some blooming trees isn't going to do that for them. So good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.